What it can tell you is anywhere between 1% to 3% of a seller's annual revenue is going to be impacted by a discrepancy. So that's 1% to 3% that you can get back simply by identifying these issues and filing claims.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm your host, Eagan Heath from Asymmetric Marketing. You can check out the work we do at asymmetric.pro. Today we're speaking about FBA discrepancies, and we have on Lisa Kinskey from Getida. She's a marketing and partnership manager there. Lisa, welcome.
Hey, Egan, thank you so much for having me on. And I just listened to a recent episode you recorded, and your guest commented on how you have a great radio voice. And I would agree that you are very within a great space for yourself with podcasting. So
thank you. I don't know if it started that way. We crossed the 100 episode mark a while back. So hopefully I'm getting some reps in and people are getting some value. So really excited to speak with you today about FBA discrepancies. Maybe we should just start with what is an FBA discrepancy and who is this important for?
Yeah, for sure. So FBA discrepancies are important to be aware of for any third-party seller on Amazon, right? So FBA, of course, being fulfilled by Amazon, and discrepancy meaning exactly what it is, a discrepancy with your inventory. So the easiest example that I can give is going to be a discrepancy with the shipments that you send into Amazon. So you send in 1,000 units, Amazon only receives 900 of them. Where are my extra 100 units? You want those in your inventory to sell, right? What happens is Amazon isn't always aware of these discrepancies right off the bat. They are sometimes if it's a big issue, but it's important that the seller is auditing their account regularly to find these problems and file claims. And that's where Getida comes in, but we can get to that later. But in essence, an FBA discrepancy is any difference between what you are expecting Amazon to reflect with your inventory and what they are actually reflecting, whether that be weights and dimensions, quantity, etc.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm squarely in the marketing world, and obviously our clients deal with all kinds of operational challenges. In my mind, this is over the fence. This is in the operations world. So I'll just say it back, and you can tell me if that's not right. Of basically, if you're doing fulfillment by Amazon, you've got inventory in their warehouses, and they're doing the fulfillment. It's possible that you think you have 10,000 units of something, and in fact, they have 9,900 something. Like it could be off. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. When you think about how many Amazon packages come to your door a day or a week, and then multiply that by however many Americans we have right now, just speaking about the North American market, there is so much inventory flying in and out of those warehouses, things are going to get missed. So it's exactly what you said. If you ship in 10,000 units, you're going to expect that you have 10,000 units to sell. And then if you end up running out prior to and you don't get another order placed with your supplier, or if you have allotted for 10,000 units in Prime Day sale or Black Friday and they're not there, it's going to impact your seller rating and you're not going to perform as well in the marketplace. So it's exactly as you had said.
I don't know if you can speak to this, but are there potential Getida clients or customers that have said, we went to sell something, we thought we had units there, and actually Amazon said we didn't? Does that happen where it actually gets to the bottom of the tank and we can't send anymore even though we tried to sell something?
It does happen sometimes, yes. Generally, that's going to be the smaller customers where they have lesser quantities of an item. It happens. You can run out of inventory, and there's a lot of things you can do with your listing to adjust for not having to shut down your listing for running out of inventory. You can play with price and with coupons and etc. But yeah, it does happen. People are missing so much that they say, wait a minute, what? I thought I had plenty here. My order is still on the water to be fulfilled. So it does happen.
Okay. And at what point should e-commerce sellers on Amazon be thinking about this? Is it at a certain revenue point, certain number of SKUs, how long they've been in business? How do they know that they need to look into this?
Yeah, I love this question. So for the area that Getida helps with specifically, we're helping with third-party or 3P sellers. These are folks using Seller Central as opposed to Vendor Central. You can file claims for certain reimbursement types for up to 18 months. And I mentioned this because sellers come to me and they're like, oh, I haven't been selling for 18 months yet. I don't have to worry about this. That's not the case. You want to start auditing your inventory for any discrepancies from the moment you create your seller account, because there are some claim windows that are as long as 18 months, some that are at as short as 3 months. And if you're able to identify any issues with maybe the sizing of your product or your packaging that's causing your fees to be higher, or if you're consistently having an issue with damaged goods, or things just get lost, you want to recoup that profit from the beginning to make your bottom line healthier at the start of your business. And if you haven't been auditing for these, the best time to start is today, right now.
Great. Yeah. And in terms of those audits, is it, maybe you said this, but you have an idea of how much you have in inventory. You've got officially what Amazon's showing you, and that's what you're comparing. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a really simple way to check this within Seller Central. It's under the Manage FBA Inventory tab. Every seller knows what I'm talking about. And there's 2 columns in the shipping queue that we want to pay attention to. One of them is units expected versus units received. And the one right next to it is going to be status, I think is how they label it. And you're looking for any difference. Again, 1,000 units versus 900. And for that status to say closed. If it still says processing or in transit, I believe are the other 2 status options, you're okay. There's not a claim to be filed yet. They're still working on it. But if you're in that shipping queue and you see a discrepancy between expected and received, and the shipment is closed, essentially Amazon saying, here's all that we have, then you have a claim on your hands where you can go into that shipment itself, file a claim for reimbursement, and then once approved, Amazon will reimburse you your list price of the product minus the fees. So it's as though you sold the item, but you didn't have to pay the PPC to sell it. So it's a double win for the sellers, getting money they would have lost out on and a more profitable sale of that product, if you will.
Pretty interesting. So it does touch on kind of the marketing piece and the CPA. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And then did you say how often people should audit this?
I didn't, but so Getida does a daily audit of seller accounts. If you're managing this internally, this is going to depend on your selling velocity and how many SKUs you have, what your volume is, etc. I recommend at least once every 2 weeks. If you're a very small seller just starting out, once a month, but no less than once every 2 weeks is my personal recommendation.
Do you guys have any data or anything you quote in terms of how much money is being lost if you're not doing this? Just like how big a problem this can be for sellers?
So that's another, it depends, right? Everybody has a different price point and different profit margins with their business. But what I can tell you is anywhere between 1% to 3% of a seller's annual revenue is going to be impacted by a discrepancy. So that's 1% to 3% that you can get back simply by identifying these issues and filing claims. And we've talked a lot about missing units, right? You're shipping in 1,000. Amazon only receives 900. That's one claim type that exists. There are over 30 different reimbursement claim types that you can file with Amazon for a whole litany of issues that can go on. So it's very important to be auditing that account again regularly to find any of those problems and filing the claims quickly.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And what a great benchmark. What a way to measure that of, okay, that's revenue. What are our margins? If we're at, 15% margins and we could add another 3 percentage points to that, that's big money to the bottom line. So I appreciate you saying that. Pretty interesting. Okay. Tell us a bit about Getida and how you guys work.
For sure. So Getida, we are the global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. We've been around just over 9 years now, and we are a service provider created by sellers for sellers. So our co-founders, Max and Yoni, were sellers themselves originally, and they were having issues with their inventory. So for their first big shipment they sent into FBA, they actually had a 6% error rate, which is outside of the 1 to 3 we generally see. And as their business grew and they were filing for reimbursements, it just became too much for spreadsheets. So they created a software in-house, shared it with some of their friends, and they said, this is incredible. Take this off my plate. This is time consuming. So that's essentially how Getida was born. We have the highest success rate in the industry of over 90% successfully closed claims on the first try. And we also have a lot of sellers who come to us after they've been processing reimbursements in-house to say, we've gotten rejections on these, please take care of them. And we have a 67% success rate on getting previously denied claims approved with Amazon and getting the seller reimbursed. There's a lot that I could go into about our patented technology and our award-winning dashboard, but what I want to be sure folks know is that Getida is a pay per recovery service. So it's entirely performance based. We only get paid when the sellers are paid. You're reimbursed directly into your Seller Central account, and then we send an invoice after the fact for our percentage.
That does sound like a great deal. So I love seeing that. I really love your site. Just great design, great usability. So really cool to see that. Definitely recommend people check it out. It's Getida, Getida.com. And who doesn't want to add 1.5 to 3% of the bottom line? That's excellent. Anything to add, Lisa, or anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate the shout out for the website. We went through a rebrand last September, so very great to hear that it's landing well. Yeah, I think my one thing to just say is begin your auditing now. Even if you're doing it in-house, it's always worth having a service provider to find anything that your team may be missing or do a little bit of cleanup, as we say. And other than that, happy selling, everyone. Much success. Eagan, thank you.
Yeah, right on. I see you guys have a podcast as well on the site, Prime Talk. Is that right?
Yes. So we actually have 2 podcasts that we produce here at Getida. I co-host both of them, so a little bit of a shameless plug. Prime Talk is co-hosted by myself and our co-founder and CGO, Yoni Mazur, where we are talking to entrepreneurs and Amazon sellers and really focusing on those success stories and a little bit of motivation for entrepreneurship, because it can be very stressful and very isolating. We don't want to break down those barriers. And then Sellernomics is our second podcast, which is co-hosted by myself and our chief evangelist, Rob Stanley. And that's where we focus on a lot of the strategies, tactics, and tips to help Amazon sellers grow their businesses. So both available on all the podcasting platforms and YouTube.
All right. Thank you, Lisa, for coming on and sharing what's working in e-commerce.
Awesome. Thank you so much.